Scott, she still has it.
She does. And do you feel like a complete dumbass for not realizing what the title of this episode meant?
Yeah.
Okay. I had to call that out because last week at the end of
I never remember.
You never remember. But I was like, dude, the villain's name is in the title.
Yeah.
It was just like I just knew at the moment.
And she will return.
And she will return. And I just remember sitting there going,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna bust his ball so hard next week.
Because I was like, what? You're saying what now? Huh? But yeah, a touch of how do you say it? Curare?
Curare. Yes.
Curare. There it is. Because you got the little accent over the E at the end. Curare. Touch of
Curare. Not ka.
It's okay, Curare.
There we go. Yes.
That's your curing.
It can be taught.
I can be taught. Curare. Yes.
There we go. Yes.
So, but yes, that's what we're talking about tonight. We're back in Gotham in the future. And this episode, of course, shines a little light on Barbara.
And the greatest controversy the DCAU will ever know.
Yes. That's another part that I was like, oh, yeah. They do.
This was the episode.
This was the episode because I remember when Killing Joke came out, and I was not a fan of that part. But then I remember, I think I talked to you about it too, and you even kind of like reference like, well, it's not the first time that's been brought up.
I had to bring that up. Well, actually, I felt like I was the person saying, because I liked the Killing Joke movie.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I was one of those voices going, dudes, this is like, this idea has been floating around since 1999. Yeah. Like, it's not new. And I felt like people legitimately, I think this goes back to what we've talked about since the beginning of us discussing Batman Beyond, that Batman Beyond is considered a cult hit, which is weird considering that it's part of this massive DCAU that is so popular, but it's like there's like just like this little subgroup of us that like really dug into Batman Beyond, and to realize, no, this has been hanging around since this episode. And for me, I just remember it being Barbara and Terry sitting at a diner or a cafe. I just couldn't remember which episode it happened in. And then when the episode started, I went, oh, it's this one. Because I was like, this is the moment where the two of them like have like a heart to heart. And I was just, and I've been waiting for when this episode was going to pop up.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but I was like, because I remember, I think it was you that said that, and then some other people have said that too. It's like, it's not the first time. I'm like, I get it. That doesn't mean I like it. Doesn't mean I like it.
And we're going to discuss that because I feel like I've taken the unpopular stance in this debate, but when we get to it, I want to talk, and I actually want to lay down some comic tie-in knowledge that I want to fill in for those who maybe haven't read, some of the additional media. I think I'm going to do some spoiling tonight and kind of like fill people in. So
that's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. But we're talking about this episode, and like I said, there's a lot happening. We establish a recurring villain, and even like we don't have a League of Shadows, but we have the what are they called? The Society.
Okay, dude, I want to talk about the nomenclature. Okay. So let's break this down. I'm just gonna jump into this.
Go ahead.
This is gonna be one of my rants for tonight. Okay. So in the comics, we have the League of Assassins. So that's what they were called when Ra's al Ghul and Talia were introduced during the legendary Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams run in the 70s on Batman. Okay, so they were the League of Assassins.
Yes.
Then we get to the adaptation of those stories in Batman the Animated Series, which we have discussed. Off Balance was the first episode where Talia and Raish and everyone gets introduced, the one with Count Vertigo. And in the Batman the Animated Series, it's referred to as the Society of Shadows. Of course, because standards and practices, we couldn't use the word assassin.
Yeah.
So it's League of Assassins in the comics. It's Society of Shadows in Batman the Animated Series. Then we get this episode of Batman Beyond, and I almost feel like it's a different organization.
Yeah.
And in this episode, they're referred to as the Society of Assassins. And then we get to, as has been discussed this weekend, since the 20th anniversary of Batman Begins occurred. In that movie, it was the League of Shadows.
Yes. Pick a name.
Dear God. Now, in Nolan's movie, I can totally understand why they would go with League of Shadows, because if they call themselves League of Assassins, ain't no way Bruce Wayne's getting his ass involved in a group called that.
Yes.
So that makes sense. And I always thought it was like I felt like somebody like Goyer or Nolan or somebody probably knew that the comic book name was League of Assassins, probably knew about the Society of Shadows in the animated series. I feel like that had to be a known quantity.
And they probably put it together like, oh, League of Shadows sounds good because there's a bunch of ninjas and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
in the shadows, and it's Batman. Yeah.
So I feel this way. But when I was watching this episode today in prep, I just went Society of Assassins. I went, oh damn it!
Like, come on, can't just kill. Yeah, I know. When I heard it too, I was like, oh shit, really?
Yes.
I was like, oh, they call it Society? Oh, all right, okay, but it's a choice. But hey, it's it's kind of
this is the shit that nerds get wound up about, and I love it.
What we get wound up about, because I was in the same mindset of you, because I was like, and I knew we were going to have a discussion on this, and I'm glad we had it at the top of the stream, because it was just like, geez. And good to see people in the chat. We got Eric, we got Jason. Good to see you guys. But yeah, so we have we get more. This is a Barba heavy episode. We find out that she's married to the district attorney.
Yes.
Which his name is Sam.
Did you? And I spent the entire episode going, fuck it, I know that voice.
I know that voice too, but I didn't look. And I know when you tell me, I'm gonna be, because I could probably see his face right now.
You can see his face. Like the name is like something. His name is Paul Winfield.
Paul Winfield. I know, like.
You will know this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I know him from a lot of Star Trek. That's
Paul. Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Yep. Fuck. I knew it. He was in the first Terminator. Come on.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He's been in a lot of things.
Yes, he has.
I was like, I recognize that voice. Where do I recognize that voice? And yeah, he was in the first Terminator. He was in the police station.
He's in the police station.
He was in Star Trek 2. Yeah. He's just been in a lot of things. And I'm like, I knew I recognized that voice. I was like, I know that voice. I fucking know that voice. And I was like almost tempted to just to look at the credits. But I'm like, nope, we're not going to do it. Not going to do it. And sure enough, yep, that's who it is. God damn, I knew it. I knew that.
And this was one of those that I was just like, the entire episode, I was like, don't make me have to look. Don't make me have to look. You can figure it. And the entire episode, I just went, know the voice. I just couldn't figure out who the name was.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, I even visualized he's a cop. I see a cop. Why do I see a cop? My brain was almost there. It was like, it was a cop. He was a cop in some movie, a fucking Terminator. God damn it. Anyways, well, there it is. I knew it. I knew it too. But yes, so we meet. We see Barbara. We see that she has a husband named Sam, who's the district attorney, and she's keeping with authority. She likes authority apparently.
I mean,
uh,
I like their relationship. I like that they're taking a walk in the park. I
yeah,
like how she wants to talk to him about work, and he's just like, "You can schedule an appointment with my office commissioner."
yeah. It's like let's not talk about work. Come on, we're not supposed to be doing that right now. But then, of course, we get our introduction to Curare.
Yeah, if you say it slow enough, you'll get it right.
Yes, I gotta say it slowly because I gotta I gotta sound it out. But yeah, we get a
Hooked on
glimpse
phonics worked for Dave.
it's Scott on phonics for me. No, but yeah, so she shows up, and of course she's just decked out. She's got a sword, she's got a hood, she looks very ninja-esque.
She
Kind of
has a
bright colors.
very, she has a very, and the fact that later Bruce will reveal that her sword is a scimitar. She
Yeah.
does have a very Middle Eastern
Yes.
Arab vibe going for her in her uh attire. It's
Yeah.
it's very interesting. It kind of reminds me of like that episode, that Ra's al Ghul episode. I'm forgetting the name of it though, where they go to the desert to find
Yeah.
like the queen, and it ends up being like a zombie thing. I just remember that. But yeah, very, 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 Cleopatra-esque. I mean, I'm getting that Egyptian Arab kind of vibe.
Very Egyptian, yes.
But you don't get any backstory on her
Nope.
whatsoever, which I dig. I know I like these villains that we don't know a lot about. You
Well,
know,
keep the mystery going. I mean, that's what's cool about this episode. It's like, and you could tell that I mean, later on something happens too, where you could tell that they're like, no, we're not gonna this is strictly about her going after Sam, and then we're going to establish the society, which they do, and then that's all we're going to do because we're setting this up for later. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that the first appearance is going to be, oh yeah, let's just set up what this is about. Let's set up this. Let's bring back this thing, and yeah, I appreciate that they didn't because yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that the first outing is like this is what the story's about. This is a Barbara Gordon heavy episode. We're going to mainly focus on her and what her whole thing's been to. We're going to establish that she's married, and then we're going to even establish what happened, between her and Bruce and blah
and
blah blah.
that's always been a cool thing that they don't focus on heavily in the series, because as we discussed, they knew this was Terry's show.
Yes.
But they knew that audience members would wonder what the hell happened in the 50 years that we missed.
Yeah.
And I like how they just like they give us crumbs, and they choose an episode to go, we're going to tell a story in this episode, and the story that's being told in this episode will service us being able to give you like a nugget of the last 50 years. And I like that, because then it's like, okay, cool, you gave us something, but you don't make the whole show or series about it. It's just an opportunity to give you one little piece, one little brick on the road connecting the animated series to the beyond future.
Yeah, and like you said, it's still Terry's show, and all this is still happening pretty much in his point of view.
Yes.
Because obviously we've seen them walking in the park and whatever, and then she shows up. She's trying to kill, and of course Barbara is trying to protect her husband and trying to get away. And luckily, Batman was kind of doing a patrolling thing, which he was just kind of flying around. He didn't want the Batmobile at this time. He was like, fuck it. It's probably a nice night. He was just, flying around, getting some, because every now and again, yeah, I'm sure he just tells her, I'm not taking the Batmobile.
You think about it, the Batman used to do the same. Bruce Batman used to do the same
of course,
thing.
He didn't have the Batmobile driving around. No.
Sometimes he was just, shooting the grappling gun,
yeah,
swinging around the city.
I mean, that's keeping a low profile, right? That's very noticeable. People are going to notice that the flying Batmobile in the sky. So if he's just floating around, yeah, he's fine. But luckily he was there, because what does he do? He intervenes. And the fight. I mean, obviously Barbara calls for backup, And then the cops do show up, but naturally the cops are going, oh, we got two masked people here. Let's go after both. But Barbara had to specify, like, don't worry about Batman. Go for the other one. It was like, that was kind
The
of
one
cool.
who's trying to kill my husband.
Yeah, yeah. Go for that one. Don't even go for this guy. I'll deal with that later, which she does. My God. And so, yeah, so we get that whole like little battle thing. And then, of course, Curare gets away. I got to say it so slow because I'm like, oh, I'm going to say it so fucking wrong if I don't. But yeah, she gets away. Of course, she does. And then, of course, we get back to the Batcave, and this is where Bruce kind of breaks it down of who she is. Obviously, this is where we first hear the name, and we first hear the name of the Society of Assassins.
You said that really fast because, like, if I don't say this fast, I'm going to screw this.
Yeah, no, right? I was like, wait. Society of Shadow of Assassins of Shadow Society.
The League of Shadow, the League of Society of Shadowy Assassins.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. The League of Shadowy Assassins. There you go. That's a good one. But yeah, so he kind of breaks it down and everything, and then I just love it that Barbara just shows up in the Batcave.
Oh, she just walks in like a boss. Like,
yeah, she knows exactly how to get in. Bruce didn't care to like, oh, maybe I should change. No, he didn't care. He was like, nah, yeah, I'm not going to change the way and she knew. And then I just like how Terry's like freaking out, like, what do we do? What's
She's in the Batcave. What do I do?
Yeah,
and I love how Barbara, because Bruce isn't freaking out. I love how Barbara walks over to the costume case, and it's just like, oh, you sewed up the bullet holes. And Terry goes, oh.
She's like, wait, Batgirl. She was Batgirl. He's like, he's kind of like fanboying a little bit.
Yeah, he is a little bit. Yeah, he's
fanboying because he's like freaking out. And then he goes, Batgirl. She's Batgirl. Like, whoa, Batgirl. Oh, like he's starting to put it together. And it's just like, I mean, he's a mix of emotions right there. While both of them are just kind of like, welcome. But, Bruce is just kind of like, it was only a matter of time before you came back here, I think he always suspected she would show back up,
Yeah, it's like Rick's in Casablanca. One of these days, I knew of all the bars in all the world, you had to walk into mine. Of all the caves in this crazy world, you strolled into mine. But it's also what I also enjoy about this episode, and it kind of becomes a running theme in Bat family stories. Especially when you've got someone who, and I think Beyond does it a lot, but I feel like it just in anything that deals with the Bat family, especially when you've got a new member of the Bat family who joins, there's always, especially if you've got like an older, grizzled, veteran of the Bat family, there's always that we thought it was our idea. But it wasn't, that he made us think it was our idea. Of course, Barbara, I want to check yourself. I think you jumped in just fine in Shadow of the Bat Part 1 and Part 2. I don't think Bruce had any. I mean, she doesn't even find out that Bruce is Batman until a flashback that we see during the new Batman adventures. Let's check yourself, Barbara. You were out there doing Batgirl shit on your own before you ever became like a member of the Bat family. You were like you were an independent agent there for a while. So let's not blame Bruce for your choosing to put on a costume and fight some crime. But
yeah, essentially she is making it seem like that Bruce kind of like gaslit like
the family,
to be like, hey, I need a family of fucking vigilantes here. But it's like, yeah, but like you said, she took it upon herself. He didn't go, hey, I'm gonna get Commissioner's daughter. No. I mean, when it came to Dick, he adopted Dick, and then it was just like, well, fuck it, let's see what happens, and stuff like that. But yeah, there was no gaslighting.
No, because you got to look at, because you look at Robin's Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
he reveals that he's Batman to stop Dick from going after Zuko. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, and then, you know, Tim figures it out to go after Two-Face. I mean, it's kind of like one of those situations where the only thing you can really blame Bruce for is bringing these people into his world and letting them know that he's Batman, which almost is like dangling the worm in front of the fish and being like, hey, because once again, he's always grabbing people. I mean, that's the difference between that's always been the difference between like people like Dick and this version of Tim, you know, the Jason Todd Tim and Barbara, because Dick lost his parents, Tim lost his dad. Barbara had a nice, healthy family relationship
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on.
Barbara had no reason to be, I mean, we shouldn't have her mom around, but but still had a dad that was law enforcement and was like, yeah, and she was going to college. She had a bright future, but she just had an itch for some thrill
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, so like yeah, she just kind of. Yeah, she was.
She's a little. I'm just gonna say Barbara's being a little revisionist
Yeah.
when it comes to, let's at least say, her involvement. Now, she might have an argument for what happened with uh, Dick and with Tim,
Yeah.
and then subsequently, look at Terry. Terry was the one who stole the frickin' suit. Bruce literally like let him get the shit beat out of him in Rebirth Part 2 because he was like, "Give me my suit back."
Yeah.
It's so. It, I don't know. I think it's bitter grapes on Barbara's part because I don't feel like she's being completely honest. It sounds like to me she's trying to abdicate responsibility while also being concerned for Terry, because I do think she's looking at what's happened over the last 50 years. Some shit went down. And once again, we don't even know the complete extent of all the shit that went down yet. And
Yeah, because I
so,
mean, she talks about the bullet holes in her suit.
right, she talked about the bullet holes in the suit. We'll later talk about how, Dick finally just said, fuck it.
Yeah.
Dick said fuck it enough to stop being Robin, but he still came back as Nightwing.
Yeah.
But clearly something happened where Dick really just went,
See ya.
wouldn't
Yeah.
want to be a, and then so I feel so it was funny to me to watch Barbara. She's almost gaslighting Terry by telling Terry he's being gaslit by Bruce. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, again, going back and being like, it's not like Bruce was like, you must do this. No, it's like they chose their path. He just kind of like showed them, like, hey, you could take this path. I'm not going to make you. That's your choice.
I'm also not going to stop you.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop you. If you want to join me on this venture, yeah, I could use the help, but I'm not going to fucking force you into it. So, and like I said, especially with Barbara, she chose with Shadow the Bat.
So I still think that's an interesting, like I said, that's a very revisionist point of view from Barbara when it comes to what she's telling Terry, but she's also, but you could just hear the bitterness.
You could hear the bitterness. Well, she even brings up her dad. She goes, "I'm not my dad," as if she's not, because obviously her dad was all about Batman, and she's not. And then she's just like, "Hey, if you get in the way, if I even see a pointy-eared whatever, fucking going after it and arresting, like well." And I would think that partially why she's kind of like this is because her husband is a target, and she knows.
Yes.
So she's a little like, let me handle this. You guys need to stay out of this, even though she probably partially goes, well, I could probably use their help. But for the most part, she wants to protect her husband, and she wants to use her resources to protect her husband, and doesn't want to use, a young kid who's now Batman, and then the disgruntled old man who she had a relationship with, different kinds of relationships with, apparently, so yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like she wants to take charge of this and doesn't want them to get in the way because she knows how messy it can get.
Absolutely. And I think that there's probably just a sense of she wants this is my responsibility,
Yeah.
and I need to make sure that it gets done right and that my husband does not become a victim of whatever, because apparently there's some sort of gangster or industrialist or something. Basically, some rich guy is going to get, what I never understood though, and they don't even bother with explaining why, is why, as the DA, is he giving a deposition to basically like to a federal grand jury? Like,
Yeah, they don't really jump into why that he's a target kind of thing.
yeah, well, they
Uh,
they 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 say why he's a target
yeah,
because he's going to give testimony. But
yeah.
why is the
Well,
DA?
why is he? Yeah, why
Why
him
is
as a
he
DA?
giving testimony? That's one of those things that when you're whatever age and you're watching this,
You
when you're
start going,
not
wait a minute.
40,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah, when
just
you're a kid, you don't care. You're like,
don't
"Oh, okay,
care, right?
yeah." But then, yeah, when we're grown men, you're going, "Okay, yeah." So we get why he's the target, but why is the district attorney going to be?
Giving
Yeah,
testimony,
yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of interesting, and of course, she thinks that she has, and then we get the Kirari to show up at, the society where it's a pretty cool scene where she just walks into a room and there's just a bunch of screens and we're seeing like the different characters,
Members
yeah,
of,
different
yeah,
members of the society. Yeah,
it's very, I don't know, like it's abstract
yeah,
because it's like this black room. And another thing I like about the design is that it's not like it's a row of monitors. Like the screens and images are like off, like they're not symmetrical. They're just kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like,
They're like different sizes and stuff. It's
and
kind
they're,
of interesting.
yeah, they overlap and they're off.
Yeah,
I, it's kind of like that idea. I'm not sure. I mean, look behind you, and I think you get it. But the idea is that like when you hang stuff on the wall, you do it
hmm
in odd numbers. You
yeah,
don't you don't you don't make sure that everything is lined up perfectly. Like you kind of want to zigzag or you want to like offset. There's something more visually appealing about odd numbers and not everything being like in a straight line. It makes it eye catching more.
yeah, yeah. It's cool. And then they just kind of tell her like, "Hey, we're disappointed. What the hell? What are you doing?" And they just basically tell her that, "Hey, don't fuck up. Stop
Because
fucking up."
later we're gonna because I now has at this point has Bruce already explained to us the consequences of
I
fucking
think
up?
I think he did in the Batcave, right?
I
He
think he
basically,
did because the point is that you know if you fail to kill your target, you become the target,
and they've
and
never had a failure. Anybody has
right, it's
failed.
never been an issue. you
Yeah,
know,
there's never been an issue with it. So the fact that she failed, they're going to end up going after her. So we get a sense of that when we hear them just talking about like, what the fuck, don't fail this next attempt. And then they just all shut off the screens, just all shut off at a one at a time, which is also creepy.
well, yeah, because it's not, yeah, you like the it's like blink, 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 blink.
Yeah. So that'll make anyone nervous. But yeah, so then of course we cut to like, Babs just like she tries to have everything under control. She's got her whole crew. She's trying to but naturally when Kirari gets there, it's like, okay, yeah, she's gonna start taking out people. And then of course, you know, Batman's there looking
I
over
like
with
Terry going, she wouldn't try to take on
yeah,
this many guys, and then she just commits to kick all their asses.
yeah, yeah. And he's like, well, yep, there she is. So yeah, naturally she was gonna do that. And yeah, she just starts taking out the guards. And then, of course, she makes her way inside of the building. And
Which, by the way, that's a really, really nice house to be
yeah,
owned by a DA and a police commissioner. I'm like, dude, somebody has money. I just
yeah, somebody is invested in some stocks. Maybe that's what happened or something. But yeah, she gets in there, and then of course, Batman goes in there, and I like how he just punches her right in the face while he's invisible. He just bam.
Oh, thank you for using the camouflage mode
Yeah,
again. I mean, seriously.
you probably could have kept that on and just took her on by then, but no.
No, we punch, and literally as he's punching, he's turning the camouflage mode off. I'm just like,
Yeah, like,
Terry.
keep it on. Come on. But and then of course they fight it out a little bit, and then they crash into like a table, and this is where the mask falls off, and
Yes.
we get Terry's reaction, and he kind of goes, "Oh, but we don't see it."
No.
Yeah,
We see and it's the thumbnail of this stream,
yeah,
and you get like you get just like you get the okay. So she's bald. She's got that weird blue skin. And if you watch, you see the ear and you see a little bit of like
some
the
line.
some lines of like the cheek. I feel like I'm mewing, you know. Can you tell I have kids? I know these things. Yeah. By the way, sorry, tangent. You were talking about something earlier. It's pronounced skibbity. Sorry, that
Skibbity.
skibbity
Oh
toilet.
yeah,
That's how you
skibbity
pronounce.
toilet. I think I said that wrong. Like
You
when
said it wrong, and so you're going.
yeah.
You clearly don't have kids, so
Nope.
it's just like no, it's
I realized I said it wrong when Michael Bay posted a video saying that he wasn't doing it, and then he said skibbity. I'm like, oh shit, I totally said that wrong. I think I called it skybity or something.
you did something like that, and I'm just like Dave.
Yeah, I'm like, nope, skibbity. Duh.
This is almost as bad as the way that you pronounce Denis Villeneuve. I'm just like,
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve. Deny.
deny. Yeah, Dennis. All the different ways you've said his name over the years. But no, sorry. Let's go back to the mewing.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But
yeah,
you get the sense that she's got like this almost wrinkle, like in my mind, it's like she's got almost like a skeletal face. Like there's something about her, like she's like shriveled and like thin on the face, like maybe she's I just like you think she's like horribly scarred or something. I don't know, but cool because it doesn't tell you. Like you don't know what's wrong. You just you react off of Terry's reaction. I love shit like that. I love it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, because you automatically see that, and then of course she finds Sam, but it's not Sam. It's just a mannequin, a dummy, or whatever the hell, and she like takes it out, but it's like okay, fools you and whatever. But then of course when Batman like gets in there and tries to stop her, he gets trapped in like their trap that they set for her,
which is like this cool like laser net thing.
Like a laser net. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, and he gets trapped, and it's like, oh shit, well that sucks. And then of course they all come in, Babs comes in and everything, but of course Terry, he gets out of it by just throwing a batarang at the control panel that he sees over on the wall. It's like, yeah, didn't think about that one, did you?
Well, but Curare already busted out, and so they're like, okay, she's gone, then who's in the trap?
Yeah.
And then of course Batman's already gone, and and Barbara just looks at that batarang and she's just like, fuck.
She hates it. She hates it. And then of course this is where we finally get to Terry and Barbara talking, because he wants to know everything, obviously. Who wouldn't? You're in this world. It's like, of course you want to know like why, what happened, what's the falling out.
Because Bruce ain't saying shit.
Yeah, he's not going to get it from Bruce. So obviously they go to a diner, and
maybe they had it. Maybe they had a donut. Maybe
they had a donut. He definitely did. Terry does have a donut. But she talks about Dick, and she talks about when they're in college
in more ways than one.
Yeah. See you with the dirty joke today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. But so she just talks about like Dick and saying like, oh yeah, it was mainly puppy love. It wasn't like super serious. It was just they had puppy love, which anybody probably has been in a relationship like that, where it's just like you have the puppy love, where it's like, oh my god, and then you realize, oh yeah, that wasn't really gonna go anywhere. But then that's where it gets revealed, where it's like, well, yeah, you and Bruce, and then it's like, yeah, and she kind of basically makes it seem like there was a relationship also between her and Bruce, and she doesn't really say it, but she hints at it.
Right. It's very much the subtext, which, of course,
Yeah.
I was watching this as a freshman in college, and I knew exactly what she was saying. Like, it was
Yeah.
like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And then she indicates that it went south,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, so this is where I wanted to step in and actually fill in. Now, this is all retcon, but I love this. Okay, so there was a series of digital first tie-in comics that Kyle Higgins wrote for Batman Beyond. I think it was part of the Batman Beyond 2.0 series, because in the early 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, the DC Comics started to do some Batman Beyond comics, but the Batman Beyond comics that they were writing felt more like Batman Beyond that existed within the continuity of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when Kyle Higgins did the book, it was kind of cool because he was doing like a Justice League Beyond book and a Batman Beyond 2.0 book, and he was writing both of them. And it was kind of cool because like they would release alternate, like they'd be like a weekly chapter, but it would alternate. One week you get Batman Beyond 2.0, one week you'd get Justice League Beyond. He definitely wrote his to tie directly into the cartoon. Like this is a continuation cartoon. So he did a Phantasm story. Like he did a Phantasm Beyond story that was cool. But in it, he also tells the story, his version of what went down between Bruce, Barbara, and Dick.
Okay.
So, spoiler alert if you've not read Batman Beyond 2.0. But the story is that, Barbara and Bruce are a thing. Dick is kind of still around, but not really digging the fact that Bruce and Barbara are together. Barbara gets pregnant.
Oh God.
If I remember correctly, I may be misremembering this part, but I think there's an indication that Bruce even offers to help Barbara if she doesn't want to keep the baby. And that doesn't go over well with Barbara. And then she's with Dick. She helps. Either they get attacked in an alleyway and she defend. I can't remember if she intervenes or if they're the ones who get attacked by some muggers, and she gets hurt and she ends up having a miscarriage.
Oh.
And that, in the Kyle Higgins version of the story, that's like what breaks everyone apart.
Jesus Christ. It's like,
I
come
mean, it
on.
goes dark, but it was such a good story.
I mean,
I mean,
it's cool, but see the thing that I just and one of the reasons why I was like I don't like the beginning of the Killing Joke opening, because I'm going like, Bruce, come on, man, this is Commissioner Gordon's daughter. This is like, you're like, you look at him like a father figure. Okay, why would you even? And then her and Dick, he was like a brother to you, and like almost pretty much like your son at first. Then he turned into like a brother. Why would you? I mean, can you not hold back? I mean, is it just because it's just what? I mean, I don't know.
I
That's
would
why
okay.
I just don't see Bruce Wayne as just giving into that temptation, because there's so much. And this is somebody who dresses like a bat and is very very like coordinated, and that's why I'm like, what? But then she fucking what, walks away, and you walk away and you get a little itch in your pants. I mean, like,
Well, okay.
I get it, she's hot.
But here's the thing. I do not discredit any of what you just said.
Yeah.
The people who have a problem with this relationship, I understand. it just doesn't bother me the way it bothers other people, because
Yeah.
I also see it as, there's a psychological history of people, of coworkers in high stress situations, military, police, this kind of thing, where just the adrenaline and the tension, you know, it leads to choices that maybe they normally wouldn't make. But if you're just constantly in these high intensity, adrenaline filled situations, shit happens. So, and at this point, as far as we are aware in the animated continuity, at that point, I think by the time they're having the relationship, I don't know if what's going to happen to Tim. Like, is Tim out of the picture already? You know, Dick is already, kind of a lone wolf as Nightwing. And so I don't know how much it's boiled down to being just Bruce and Barbara without
Mhm.
a whole lot of intervention from Tim and Dick in the Bat family. And so that, I mean, I'm overthinking this more than I did when I was, 18 and saw this episode for the first time, because it had never bothered me then. It hasn't bothered me up to this point, because as I've gotten older, I understand how being in a high pressure situation, once again, not discounting anything that you just said, because I've heard you say this, and this is also the same kind of arguments I've heard other people say. And it's one of those things that's like, I do not discount your opinion. I do not discount your
Yeah.
feelings. This is just a agree to disagree. Like,
Yeah.
or it's just like, what bothers you so much just doesn't bother me that much. And
Yeah.
I think
No, I
that's
get
what it
it. I
boils
get
down
it.
to.
And I get what you're saying too, because obviously, like you said, adrenaline, tension, all the stuff. So naturally, there could be like something that happens there. I just would always just think like, yeah. I mean, I guess that it's like, but it's the
Yeah.
ties between it. It's like, and I just go, oh, come on, you have plenty of. But then at the same time, any kind of girl that fucking Bruce Wayne gets, some shallow fucking whatever little like doll that just shows up who's got a rich dad and whatever the hell, and then it's probably boring, but I'm sure.
We got Barbara, who can actually be himself with. And
Yeah,
I
he can
think
actually be himself, and then she's probably pretty good at things.
you would go there, and I completely understand.
Yeah.
So,
Oh no. Yeah, but
because they getting to be like true partners, because she's in on the life. The way that Barbara in this, like the way that Commissioner Barbara says it was like ballet, like, that they were probably working together. It was probably at that point just the two of them.
yeah.
And so that's why I see where this came from. I see where people don't like it. I just don't feel that strongly negatively about it that I know other people do. Because that was the funny thing, is that, like you said, it's been around since this episode. It's been around since
Yeah.
1999. But damn it, did people not decide to get their panties in a twist until the Killing Joke movie came out? And suddenly everyone and their brother had an opinion about this. And I think that is why I took the stance that I did when the Killing Joke movie came out, is everyone was so shocked and appalled when that movie came out. Like, oh, pearl clutching and acting like this is the first time this has ever happened. And I've been like,
Nope.
where you been?
Yeah.
I've already had like 10 years for this to like, no, actually, yeah, no, at that point it would have been more like 20 years for it to be like just a
Yeah.
marinate and be like,
True.
yeah, okay, cool. I don't mind. Like I said, I've grown accustomed
I've
to this for the last
accepted this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, so after that, and then of course, she still lays down the law of just like, hey, stay out of this. And then she is of course talking with her team, with the whole plan of everything of getting Sam away. And then of course, Curare is like listening. She's got her own little device where she's like listening. She's on a rooftop, of course. And And then, of course, Bruce even comes up with a plan, and he wants to protect Barbara. He has his own thing that he's telling Terry, like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And then, of course, talking about. I think actually, you know what? This is because I wrote the note. This is actually where he first talks about the Society of Assassins that will kill her. So it was actually this scene. So it wasn't the first scene in the Batcave. It was this scene
in the back
when they're like
because this is when
yeah.
he's like using his cane to point out like which train route they would take.
Yes. Trying to figure out the train situation, and yeah, this is where that is. And then of course we get a cool little like, Curare just kind of like skates down, just like slides down with her feet on like this surface that has a bunch of lights, like this sloped building, and it's kind of cool. And then she, of course, leaps onto the train.
So here's where so she could do all this badass shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, are we in the heightened world like Batman in World's Finest Part 3? He can jump like 20 feet high to jump over the robots kind of deal. Or is Curare a metahuman? Like it's one of these things like, are we just doing like the exaggerated comic book?
I think it's exaggerated comic book stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Like she's not actually a metahuman. She's just badass, and badass people can do really funky things in a comic book world, I think is, because like I said, we've seen Batman do things that were just like,
of course, obviously, don't skip leg day kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
We always talk about that, but yeah. So obviously, she's taken out a bunch of the guards on top of the train and just doing her thing, and then she's doing like crazy things, and then tries to like cut her way in.
By the way, those police officers are dead. They are.
They fall right off top of it, but in the words of Zack Snyder, they're fine.
They're fine. They're fine. but I mean, but you actually see her like slice her sword.
Oh yeah, and they're flying off this bridge, and I'm going, they ain't landing on a tree. They're not showing.
If they're not already dead from that sword, probably like cutting them in half or something.
Yeah, because the sword. What was the sword? The importance of the sword? I forgot.
So it was a scimitar that was sharpened by a laser. So its blade is like the width of a molecule. Like it's like it's gonna cut through you like a knife through hot butter.
Yeah,
it's a super freaking sharp sword. So they're practically cut in half and falling off an L train. So it's like they dead.
They're done. But then it's like she slices the car that they're in. She disconnects it from the rest of the train, so of course it flies off the track, and but everybody will be okay, right?
Right, because it just goes into a building.
It just goes right into the building, and then this is where we'll just kind of just jump in right now, because why not look at while they're in zero gravity flying. I should probably turn on the volume.
Oh, why would you do that? Copyright,
So crashes and perfectly just okay. We're all right, right? Everybody's good.
Yeah, don't stand on that end of the train.
Yeah, that could have made it fall over or something, but of course they get away and they hide out in like a little freezer.
This game totally gave me Predator 2 vibes.
Yeah, right.
We've got 10 inches of steel.
Okay, good. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I'm sitting here going, I see like
officer in need of assistance.
UC and Danny
Yeah,
Glover finding a predator.
UC, yeah.
So much for help.
And she is that sword slices right through that shit.
God.
That's a big. There's a pigs. What are the chicken? What are we looking at here?
The size, it's gotta be like a cow.
Yeah, is it a cow? I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, I'm very curious about Barbara's gun because it's like it's shooting lasers.
Yeah, it
but it still has casings coming out, like it's ejected casings.
It is interesting. Run, Terry, run! Then naturally, of course, everything has to start.
Yeah, this is what you get when you're in a futuristic butcher shop.
Ouch.
Now, something that I was thinking about as Terry's fighting Curare, I was thinking about
Look out!
we don't really see a lot of training,
Yeah.
but Terry can fight really well. And also, watch where you throw those batarangs, Terry. I mean, seriously. He almost took Sam out. Yeah.
Oh, she still got it. She still got it.
What I love the fact is not only did she throw a beyond batarang, it came back to her and she caught it. Like, that's the most badass move when you throw a boomerang
Yeah.
and you actually catch it when it comes back.
Got her. And he's just like, I have a crush on you now.
I guess you never lose the touch. How'd it feel?
Like old times. You better go.
Because I'm
Wouldn't
sitting here
look
going,
good if-
does Sam know that she was
I
Batgirl?
was just thinking too. I was like, wait a minute. Does like he know
I
that?
hear that Sam's deposition is sure to convict Davidge. Barbara must be pleased.
You should have seen her, Bruce. She sure swings a mean batarang.
She
Yeah,
always
he's
did.
got a crush.
Hold on. The unnamed woman believed to
He
be a
always
hired
did.
assassin escaped from police custody. Her
Uh-oh.
whereabouts are unknown.
Did you hear that?
It's all right. Curare won't be going after Sam anymore.
Nope.
She has
she's gonna
other
save her own
concerns
life.
now.
God, I love this ending is so iconic.
Uh-oh.
Like that shot right there was always what I remember. Like when I
Yeah.
think of Curare in like the entire series, I always think of that ending where she's driving that cruiser and that other assassin blade comes through the roof, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Like, yep, I'm gonna be on the run now because now they're after me. Shit. And Bruce knows that. He's like, oh yeah, they'll be fine now because she's not, she
She
fucked
has her
up.
own problems.
Yeah, she's like, she fucked up. She didn't do her job, so now she's gonna be spending the rest of her life just not getting killed by them. So she doesn't care about killing Sam anymore.
No. Because the contract's over. Like it's
Contract over. Yeah, you fucked up. Now you must be disposed. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. But she does show up later, right?
She does. Yeah.
She showed that's again good episode of not showing backstory and just kind of going like, oh, setting up, oh, there's something interesting about this woman.
Woman? Yeah. Woman. Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. Good episode. Really
Very
good
good episode. Yeah. Fun episode. I like
fun
it.
episode, and like I said, addressing that whole controversy. Like I said, I'm on the side of I don't like it. I have my reasons, but at the same time, I get it. Just like you get it, on your side of it. Like
But it's funny that it's not like I'm for it. I'm
Yeah.
just like, man, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother you. It bothers me.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
yeah.
It's not like I'm on the team of Barbara and Bruce bang. Like, no, it's just it's not like I'm rooting for it. I'm just like, okay. I accept it. I think I'm in acceptance. That's
You
where I am.
accept it. I have trouble accepting it. Just because I'm like, why would he do that? It's like, yeah, you were one of the kind of good ones. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but what do we got next week?
All right. Next week, we have the season 1 finale of Batman Beyond Ascension. Now, I want everyone who goes and watches the episode for next week, I want to put a bug in everyone's ear about this. Okay. We've had quote unquote season finales before. I mean, we watched 3 seasons of Batman. We're finishing up 3, maybe 4 seasons of Superman, as we discussed last week. But they've never felt like seasons.
You're right. Yeah.
They've been episode orders. It's like we ordered this many episodes, so we make this many episodes. But it's never felt like here's a season premiere, here's a season finale. Like the way that you normally would feel like about television. I want to say that Batman Beyond was the first time, and it won't be the last, but it was the first time that with the Timverse DCAU cartoons, that when we say season finale, it feels like the end of a season. Like we get an actual finale. And I want us to see how much that carries forward in what we watch later on, because I say that next week's episode feels like a season finale. And that's the first time we've been able to say that in the 4 years of us watching these cartoons.
Yeah.
That we know we're at the end of a season.
Yeah, because like you said, it was always just like, hey, we want this many episodes. So there was never like kind of like a clear, but if I remember that, like, I mean, obviously somebody's going to be coming back that we haven't seen in a little bit.
Yep.
Next episode, which basically started the whole story. So
yes.
That's the thing is, now, of course, if you're going to have a season finale, you're going to have to bring back, obviously, and I think everybody knows who it is, that, you know, like he was always going to be the main villain of, you know, of this iteration of Batman because of just how it all started. And it's like, okay, so yeah, if you're going to do a season finale, you got to bring back Mr. Powers. That's what it's like. That's the thing. So, yeah. I remember the season finale.
I know. I was like, Dave knows this episode.
Yeah,
Dave remembers.
I remember the season finale at least. Like, yeah. So, yeah. No, but you're right. You're right. And I didn't even think about that till now, where it's like, yeah, there has not been a clear season finale, but they have it clear this time. Yeah.
Well, because think about it. Because if you go back to Batman the Animated Series, what's the big deal we made about our stream? We're doing it in production order, not in air order. Because there wasn't be a finale because the episodes weren't even aired in the order that they were written and produced. Like, so there was no way to have a, you know, an arc. You know, this is the beginning of us actually getting like an arc, you know, for a season. It has a beginning. Middle is not exactly what I would say it, but it has a beginning and it has an end. And I think that that's a really intriguing way to go into next week's episode.
No, it's good. I love that. So, yeah, make sure you guys watch that. It's what's it called? Ascension.
Yes.
Ascension, and
13th episode and final episode of the first season of Batman Beyond. We're already at the end of the first season of Batman Beyond, folks.
That's crazy. But every episode's been just, you know, there hasn't been a downer episode really. So
that's great. Right. I've said that. I've said that for a while now. Like, that's the best thing about Batman Beyond is that it's just like
it works.
They all work. They're not all bangers.
No,
but we don't have lows.
No, there's not a low. There's not a Batman in my basement or
Christmas with the Joker.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because I loved that episode as a kid, but man, it has not aged well.
Oh, wow. This was very 66 Batman.
Yes.
But anyways, go ahead and watch that, guys. We'll be back here next week. Thank you guys for spending some time with us as we talked about this episode. Go ahead and what do you got to plug, Scott?
Nothing new except for, I mean, I talked about it over the vodka stream on Friday, but you know, check out my Letterboxd. I reviewed The Life of Chuck and Materialists. Both of them highly recommend, and so check out my Letterboxd reviews to read why I would recommend both movies. Of course, you can follow me on X at ScottDC27. You can follow me on Vero at Scott McClellan, and use either Scott McClellan or ScottDC27 to find me on Letterboxd. I do want to give a brief update regarding Squadcast Media. As many of you will be aware, I can report now that 100% of all existing episodes of the podcasts, of all the podcasts, basically, if there is still the file that if it was going to be saved, it has been downloaded, and Tim figured out a quick workaround to download Word files of all of our episode titles, release dates, and our show descriptions. So that way those can be tagged on to when we convert them into videos. and Ray has a possible solution to automate in batches us converting our MP3s into YouTube videos, because really that's the last hurdle, is nearly 1,000 episodes. When you think of everything that the network produced over the last 10 years, and we've got to convert them all into videos for YouTube.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. So salvaging all that tasty content.
So go ahead, if you've not already done so, subscribe to the Squawcast Media YouTube page, and there's already content there that, of course, I and the other guys have been posting, very infrequently over the years, but that is where we're going to be posting all nearly 1,000 episodes of every podcast we ever did, including our Squadcast movie reviews, where we were watching every comic book movie ever made, all the way from Superman and the Mole Men, to present day. We made it into the 2000s. I remember we were about to, before the show kind of petered off and we stopped our Patreon, we were about to watch Barbed Wire. So to kind of give you a framework of how far we made it from Superman and the Mole Men to then. And also that is where I plan on posting my first reaction to Superman, James Gunn's film, when I see it on July 8th.
There you go. So make sure you guys subscribe to that and keep it going. Hit that like, thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, of course. If you're new to watching this, we're here every Wednesday to talk about something from the DCAU and, of course, the Film Junkie Lives. Then we got the Vodka streams on Friday. And, Friday should be another fun one. And I think we're going to have Ernie back. I think he's going to be joining the panel.
Because the Kickstarter. Oh, okay. We need a Kickstarter update. At? Okay, where is it at? It was over 80% the last time I looked, but let me see. It is currently at. I just hate how long it takes the Kickstarter to load up to let me. It is at 80% exactly.
Okay.
12 days remaining. 67 backers for $2,833. Reminder: the Kickstarter has to make $3,500 to move forward.
Yeah, we'll push some more of those more backers on, because he definitely wanted to come on Friday. So
700. I mean, just under $700 is what is needed to be able to make the initial goal. So come on, guys, just jump in there, help us out.
Help it out. If you got some extra scratch. But yeah, so look forward to my first reaction to 28 weeks later tomorrow. That's what I'm seeing.
28 years later, you mean?
Whatever years, I always get it wrong. Jesus Christ.
It's days, weeks, years.
Yes, days, weeks, years. Yeah, damn. Keep forgetting. I know I messed up during Film Junkie Live too. I was like, oh shit. 28 years later. That I'm very much looking forward to, because my God, are those reviews they're stellar. They're like, holy shit. Fucking Danny Boyle does it again, kind of thing, whatever the hell. Did he direct it? He didn't, or did he write it?
Alex Garland wrote it.
Alex Garland wrote it. Danny Boyle
directs it. Yes.
Well, that's why it's good, of course. Alex Garland. That's right. Duh. So looking forward to that. Yay! I get to a movie I'm very much looking forward to. I'm watching. Nothing wrong with How I Trained Your Dragon. I still enjoyed it, but anyways, that's besides the point. So look forward to that. See you guys Friday for the Vox stream, and then DC Fan-imated people. See you next week for the season finale of Batman Beyond Season 1. All right, guys, we love you, and we will talk to you later.